Hello, everyone, and welcome to Body Bags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Horror Heaven77, and yeah, as you can tell, this week we've been doing a theme week, and the theme week we've been doing is Pandemic Week. We've been, everybody's been reviewing movies about plagues and viruses and things like that. And you guys might remember here a while back for the channel, I reviewed the 1994 miniseries of Stephen King's The Stand. Still a very good series, dated though it may be. It's still a very good series. I highly recommend it. It's on DVD. It's on Blu-ray. I highly recommend. If you can get your hands on it, get it. If you're a Stephen King fan, yeah, you're gonna want to see it. So it's pretty good. The thing is, though, it's like now here in last year they had done a new series of The Stand, and what did I think of it right off the bat? Not much. I really was not impressed with what was there. So. I know the book, is about that freaking big and everything else, but I highly recommend, if you ever get the chance, try reading the book. The book is really good. It's a good book. You can understand, it's, in a lot of book circles, a lot of Stephen King fan circles, to a lot of people, The Stand, as far as they're concerned, that's King's masterpiece. That is his crowning achievement as a writer. That's like the best thing he's ever written or will ever write. And just to give you a quick little backstory about how the book came to be. King tells a story in his book Danse Macabre. He had been living with his family in Boulder, Colorado, and at this point he already published his first three books. No, I don't think The Shining was. I don't know, but anyway. But he had written his first three books. He had written, Carrie, Salem's Lot, and The Shining. And those books were being published. Now, King, said in the book Danse Macabre that he was going to do a book on Patty Hearst. And that sorry, my throat's dry. He had gathered his materials. He was going to work on it and everything else. And then, he was sitting in his office, his writing room one day, his office, I guess. And he was listening to a Bible thumping station that was coming out of Colorado, and he heard this preacher say, "Once in every generation, the plague shall fall among them," and that sparked King's imagination. He said that he wrote that quote down on a piece of paper, tacked it up over his typewriter, and then the story for The Stand just fell into place. And then he took the next 2 years to work on it, and I guess during that time, that's when The Shining got published. And I'm sure they were probably like, hey, we need another book. So that's when he put out his first book of short stories, Night Shift. But yeah, I believe it was 2 years that it took him to write the book. Anyway, so he's got the book. It's probably like 1,300 pages long, whatever it was. So he goes to his publisher and they tell him, no, this is way too big. And you're not at the point yet where you could be publishing books of that size. So King had to edit it down to about 800 pages. And that's the version that they published at first. And so years later, right before, they've been getting ready to do the miniseries of The Stand, King was finally able to get the full version of the book, published. And so that's what we have now. Now we have the full version of The Stand, at almost like 1,200 pages, whatever. So there's that. But during the time, of course, during the years, there have really been trying to get this made as a movie. Like Warner Brothers was trying to make it as a movie. At one point, George Romero was attached to direct it. There was, all this kind of stuff going on, and just nothing was working. And it's just the book was too big. The scope of the book was too big and everything else, so they couldn't get it done. And so when they finally did the 1994 miniseries, King was like, okay, well, here's the problem. ABC will only let me have so much time. Never mind the fact that, King had already had some pretty good successes, with TV miniseries, Salem's Lot, The Tommy Knocker. So, but even still, they would only give, like, the most he was going to be able to get was 4 nights, 2 hours, 90 minutes minus the commercials and stuff. So we ended up with the 6-hour miniseries. So they did that and everything else. It was a ratings blockbuster and all this kind of stuff. Did really well and everything, and King continued to work on TV, obviously. So as the years went by, people were, when it came to the 94 miniseries, people enjoyed it. But over time, people were, it's kind of showing its age. And what people really wanted, the fans of the book really wanted, they wanted, the book on screen. They wanted the whole thing. And while the 94 miniseries was a very good, very faithful adaptation of the book that King had done himself, people were like, well, yeah, but we want the whole thing, And over the years, there had been attempts to try to get that to be done as, even at one point, I think it was Warner Brothers, they had the rights to it. And so they got, they were talking to different directors and things like this. And even at one point, Ben Affleck, supposedly, if what I read was correct, at one point, Ben Affleck was connected to the project, and that he was going to help write the scripts and direct it. And, basically what he was going to do was he was going to do with The Stand what Peter Jackson did with Lord of the Rings. He was going to do as like three-hour movies as a trilogy. Probably when it comes to video, there would be extended versions and things like this, and kind of do that sort of thing. Well, they decided, no, not going to happen. And ultimately, Josh Boone, the guy from The Fault in Our Stars, he decides he's going to take it and talks about how big of a Stephen King fan he is. The problem is if you watch the series, you don't really get that. But he says he's a huge fan of Stephen King's and everything else. He wants to do it and everything else. So they took it to CBS All Access, and they decided, okay, we're going to do it as like, it escapes me. Was it like a 10 or a 9-part series? Like 9 or 10 hour-long episodes. So, people were optimistic. They're all like, okay, all right, so we're going to get 9 or 10 hours as opposed to the original 6 hours. You play your cards right, you do it right, and everything else. You could potentially, sure, there's still going to have to be some things condensed or some things left out. Sorry. Some things condensed, some things left out. But we're going to get, the full version of The Stand on screen. We'll get, the full series. Is that what we get? No, not really. They changed so much from the book. So many of the characters have been changed. You could definitely tell, like, there's one big difference. If you watch the original, the 94 miniseries, and then you watch this, one thing that really becomes glaringly obvious when you're watching the 94 miniseries, the people who made that series, the actors, like Gary Sinise, Molly Ringwald, Rob Lowe, Jamie Sheridan, Miguel Ferrer, all these actors and actresses that worked on the original series, you could tell they loved the material. They loved the book, and they put their hearts and soul into it. This here, not so much. This here, you could kind of tell, like, a lot of the people, you get the sense that probably, like, a lot of the people who worked on this series probably didn't even bother to read the book. They're probably not particularly Stephen King fans anyway, just actors and actresses taking a job. That's the thing, like, why would you, if you were really a King fan and if you really loved the book and loved the material, why would you go along with this? That doesn't make much sense to me. Of course, the whole story is obviously, this plague is let loose, in the book and everything. It's called Captain Trips. This plague is let loose, and it's a very highly contagious, a communicability level of like 99%. And everybody's catching it, everybody's dying from it. And basically, like, over 99% of the world's population is completely wiped out. So there's like 1% of the world's population still left. And then what ends up happening is what's left of the population, they break off into two camps. There's the camp of good that is led by Mother Abigail. In the original, it was Ruby Dee. In this version, it's Whoopi Goldberg. In the original, on the bad side, you had Randall Flagg, who is played by Jamie Sheridan. This here now is played by Alexander Skarsgard. And they decide that there's going to be this ultimate war between good and evil to fight who's going to win and who's going to end up ruling the earth. And so, they're doing things like sending spies and all this kind of stuff. But it turns out also that kind of a way, sort of, that Mother Abigail is something of an angel, whereas like Flag is a demon, pretty much. And so that's pretty much your story. And ultimately, what it means by the stand is at one point, basically God is saying that 4 people have to go and confront Randall Flagg and his people, and that they're going to make the ultimate stand for good, and the war between good and evil is going to be fought. Okay, so it's this series. You could tell I didn't like this. I was not a fan of this series. Okay, like I said, when you watch the '94 miniseries, one thing that becomes abundantly clear is that the people involved in it loved the book and really wanted to make the best version of the series possible. It's like, I'm not even kidding. Okay, one of the, it's like they put Amber Heard in this thing. Okay, yeah, I know I'm a Johnny Depp fan, and okay, if I could just have 1 second, I'm going to say, okay, if you're a Johnny Depp fan, watching this series is probably going to piss you off because, if you're a Johnny Depp fan and like what's been going on with him, he's got evidence that he never abused Amber Heard. If anything else, she abused him, and she's been doing all this horrible, shady stuff, and then when you're watching this, you think she's still, Johnny Depp, his career is pretty much shot. He's got nothing. His career is pretty much over. Even though he did nothing wrong, and he's got the evidence to back up that he did nothing wrong, his career is pretty much screwed. He's over, at least for now. But Amber Heard, she still gets to keep working. She's working on Aquaman 2 right now. And then in this version, you got, what's his name? Ezra Miller, and he plays Credence in the Fantastic Beasts movie. Now, there's supposed to be a video showing him allegedly really physically assaulting a woman, but he gets to keep his acting roles. He still gets to be in Fantastic Beasts. He's supposed to be shooting The Flash right now and all this. So yeah, that kind of pisses you off when you think about it. It's like, okay, Ezra Miller, who supposedly did physically abuse a woman, he gets to keep his acting roles. Amber Heard, she abused Johnny Depp, and she's got all other kinds of crap going on with her, but she still gets to keep acting. But Johnny Depp, his career, done. Nice. But anyway, but the thing is, what I meant to say about Amber Heard was, like, if you watch interviews with her where she's talking about it, the woman seems like she doesn't even know what the hell character she's playing. She's literally like, yeah, it's about people trying to do the best they can at the end of the world, and things happen, and people have to try to do the best they can. I mean, that's literally like how she acts in the damn interview. She doesn't have a clue what she's playing. But just all over the place. This series is just a mess. I don't recommend it. Like I said, especially, okay, I can maybe see if you never read the book or you never saw the original series, you might be able to watch this and get enjoyment out of it. But here's the problems. Like, see, for me, I read the book, I watched the original miniseries, and I do love the book, I do love the series, and this just does not work at all. There are certain, like, the pacing is so off on this, and they do this thing, it's annoying as hell. You could definitely tell, like, the people working on this series, they were really sitting there going like, oh, well, the problem is nowadays everybody's attention span isn't worth a dang. So what we need to do is we need to keep jumping back and forth in time and all this kind of stuff. And, so that way, like, instead of just letting the story progress and let it flow, well, no, let's just go ahead and just spit everything out so that, the rest of it is just filler. And it's just, bleh. I mean, like, in the very first episode, okay, you got, like, the majority of the episode, you're following Harold Lauder. That's a really good idea. Yeah, start off. Harold Lauder is easily probably the most disliked character in the book, in the original miniseries. He's like one of the scuzziest characters that you hate him, you don't like him, but, let's have most of the first episode follow him, and at least I'll give Corin Nemec this, even though Harold was still a disgusting character, Corin Nemec, he really put the effort in. He really played that character really well. He really tried to, start off as just kind of a nerdy, awkward kind of a kid, and you see him getting seduced by Flag and everything else. Like the guy who plays Harold in this version, like from the very get go, he looks like he's going up to. He looks like he's going to go up to Franny and say, hey Franny, I'd like to wear your skin as a suit. I mean, he's so over the top, nasty. It's like, why the hell would any character? It's like it makes no sense that the characters would have anything to do with him and all this. If anything, everybody would avoid him as much as they could, because he just comes off as like batshit crazy from the get go. And everybody complains about how Jack Nicholson comes off as crazy in The Shining from the get-go. But anyway, so a lot of the actors and actresses, they bring nothing, And you have a couple of instances of actresses that really could have been utilized in better roles. Okay, one example, Heather Graham. Heather Graham is a beautiful, talented actress. She's got a really impressive body of work, under her belt. And not just, Roller Girl from Boogie Nights, but, she's got like a really nice, solid body of work. They give her a little role with pretty much nothing to do. Okay, she's hardly in it, and then she's gone. Another impressive actress that they could have utilized more, Fiona Dourif. Fiona Dourif is in here, and yeah, that's one thing too. Another thing you're going to kind of notice is like this version of The Stand is, you could tell is going into woke territory. What I mean by that is you could tell, like when you listen to like woke ideology and stuff like that, they talk about how like, we need to stop having so many white people in a movie and stuff like this. But they kind of tend to shoot themselves in the foot with this, because what ends up happening is, like for example, in the book and in the original miniseries, the character of Charles Campion, who unleashes the plague in the first place, he's described in the book as a scrawny, kind of a chicken shit white guy who's, all this kind of stuff, just kind of a loser, really. But it ends up, he's the one who ends up unleashing the plague and killing 99% of the population of the world. So Hollywood, in their infinite wisdom, they decide, well, that character now needs to be played by a black man. So, okay, good call, Hollywood. So, in your version, the person who ends up killing 99% of the world's population is now a black man. Very, very progressive, Hollywood. There you go. And then also, too, and this is an insult because, like, I think Fiona Dourif, she could have played a number of characters. Even if he didn't want her as Franny Goldsmith. And unfortunately, Odessa Young, who plays Franny Goldsmith, she is so bland. There's nothing to her. She just looks the same as like 20 zillion other young actresses you see working in Hollywood today. Just really brings nothing to it. Molly Ringwald was, in my opinion, was leaps and bounds better than Odessa Young was. Just nothing to it. So it's like Fiona Dourif, even if you didn't want her to play Franny Goldsmith, okay, fine. She would have made a great Nadine Cross. It's like you could have put her as Nadine Cross instead of Amber Heard. But then again, too, I guess it makes sense. Nadine Cross in the book is one of the most vile, despicable characters in the whole book. So I guess you need one of the most violent, despicable actresses in the world to play that. So, but Fiona Dourif, she could have played that. She could have, she could have played a number of roles. There's all kinds of things she could have done in that miniseries. You got, but what they do with her characters, okay, there was a character who was in the book and in the original miniseries was called the Rat Man. And this character was a person of color, and he was a person of color and stuff. And I guess they decided they didn't want like a male person of color to be portrayed as this awful character, because the Rat Man in the book is described as, kind of like this pervy, weird, kind of almost like a child molester type, and just really scuzzy character overall that nobody wanted anything to do with. And so, I guess they decided, well, we can't have a person of color be played like that, so let's get a woman to play that part. So you're really doing good. You're batting 1,000 with the women, and you're batting 1,000 with, people of color. So good on you, Hollywood. You're really working out well. But anyway, so sorry. But and the biggest problem too is like with Whoopi Goldberg as Mother Abigail. Now, when you look at the original miniseries, Ruby Dee really worked and transformed herself to become Mother Abigail. I mean, like when you see like Ruby Dee, like when you look back at like Ruby Dee in 1994, and then you see the character of Mother Abigail, you can't even put the two together. Like, it's an amazing performance. Just her acting mixed with the makeup, mixed with everything else. Like it's an incredible performance. Ruby Dee steals it. Whoopi Goldberg just kind of comes off like is Whoopi Goldberg playing Whoopi Goldberg. Not much to it. And Alexander Skarsgard, obviously the reason they got him is because his brother Bill Skarsgard, was a big success playing Pennywise in the It movies. And so I guess they figure, hey, where there's smoke, there's fire. Here's Alex Skarsgard. He's Bill Skarsgard's brother. Let's put him as Randall Flagg, and he'll make that character just as memorable. Nope. You could kind of understand the whole concept of why in the original miniseries, even though a lot of name actors really wanted the part of Randall Flagg, that why King decided, you know what, let's go with somebody who's more of an unknown. And at that time, Jamie Sheridan maybe did just a couple of movies. He wasn't well known at all. So they got him to play Randall Flagg. And you can kind of see that because you see more Randall Flagg. You don't really see, like a name actor. You don't see Willem Dafoe, or anything like that. And, and just the other actors just do not fit the characters really. Like the character they got to play Lloyd has nothing on Miguel Ferrer. Miguel Ferrer was amazing as Lloyd in the original movie, in the original miniseries. The only one who was even halfway decent was Greg Kinnear as Glenn Bateman. But just, yeah, the cast really adds nothing to it. You could tell like the love just wasn't there like it was in the 94 miniseries. And they changed so many elements of it around and just, oh God, I really don't recommend this. And, but you do get one bonus that you didn't get in the 1994 miniseries. Everybody says fuck a lot. So there you go, Yeah, that makes it automatically better, right? Because now everybody can say fuck every 2 seconds, so there you go. You got that going for you. Now, I will say, okay, one thing that, a couple of things. Now, obviously, since 1994, the cameras that they used to film the series have improved. The special effects, the CGI and everything, obviously all of this stuff has improved over time. And that's kind of about the only one-up, really, that the new series has over the old series. But what the old series has is really going for it, and why, in my opinion, you should just stick with that. It's just, better cast, faithful, as faithful as could be to the book. Everybody involved with it loved the book, loved the material, and you could tell the original series was a labor of love, where this was just a mess. Everything jumps back and forth. The pacing is so off. Everything jumps back and forth in time. Like, oh, here's one scene, and then here's like one scene, then the next scene 4 weeks later, and then the next scene 3 years earlier. Now you're back to modern time. Now you're back to 1 year earlier. Now you're back to 5 years later, and it just keeps doing this. And everything else. So I guess, like I said, they figured they're going to do that because people's attention span just ain't worth a crap. So I don't know. But, oh yeah. And then just in so many, and that's the thing, like, too. I'm sorry. I know I'm going on long. I'm almost done, I promise. But that's like another thing, though, too, is like the book has certain scenes in it that, are very, like, there's some very scary scenes in the book. Some of the scariest scenes King's ever written. Like, one of the greatest scenes is when Larry is trying to get out of, he's trying to get out of New York City, and it was, what was it, the Lincoln Bridge, I think it was. And so they're trying to get, he's trying to navigate through the bridge, and there's dead bodies everywhere. It's the way King writes it, it's very scary, very creepy, very claustrophobic scene and everything else. And just very eerie and everything else. And it's a good, well-written part in the book. And like another, in the new series, they did it in the original miniseries, but like in the new series, it maybe amounts to just a couple of minutes, and they don't even go through the bridge, they go through the sewers. Whoopee! Hooray! And just the element just isn't there, Also, too, like another scene is when, Stu is getting ready to escape from the CDC. And, it's like this big maze. He's trying to navigate his way out. There's dead bodies everywhere. There's creepy things lurking around every corner. There are people trying to kill him, things like that. That was another great scene. In this new series, it's done in like 2 seconds. It's like not even a minute. He just walks around, some dead people, and he walks right out the door. And just, like I said, just it's horrible. I don't recommend it. I'm sorry. I know we're coming up on 25 minutes already. I know. I'm sorry I went this far, but just there was just so much to talk about. But the CBS Access version of The Stand, I really don't recommend it. I would say steer clear of it if you can. Go read the book. Go watch the 1994 miniseries. It's shorter. It's more faithful to the book. You have a much better cast. You could tell that the people who made the original miniseries loved the book and really tried to honor it and tried to honor Stephen King and everything. And King was even involved in it himself. He was a producer. He wrote the scripts. He plays a part in the series. Go watch that. It's much better. So anyway, yeah, sorry I took so long, but if any of you took the time to watch all this, I do thank you for it, and I do appreciate you. I honestly hope you enjoyed the video, despite my constant bitching and whinging. And if you please leave a like. If you haven't already, go and subscribe to the Body Bags channel. And there's a different review, one for every day of the week. I'm the Friday reviewer. We have different guys. Everybody's all doing different stuff. We got some fun label weeks and theme weeks and all kinds of good stuff coming up. So, yeah, so that's it. Finally. So, everybody take care and go watch the original The Stand. Much better, I promise you. Have a good night.